For the fourth skill, which is finding missing angles and sides in triangles, you actually are mostly ready if you have the second part of your notes for setting up trigonometric ratios, which was number 2. So back in our packet, that was on page 6. This side here really did show you how to find missing sides and angles. So if you want to refer back to your notes from skill 2, these will be really helpful. Instead, what I want to do is more just kind of walk you through the first couple problems here on this practice page, which is page 14 in your workbook. So your directions here are to find the measure of each angle and round to the nearest tenth. And your directions here are to find the measure of each side, round to the nearest tenth. On the last section, it's solve for the missing parts of each triangle, meaning you need to find all of the missing angles and all of the missing sides. So first we'll start by doing number 1 together. I have my angle, theta, and what I'm looking for is the measure of angle theta. To start, I'm going to label my sides in relation to theta. So I have my hypotenuse, I have my opposite, and I have my adjacent. You want to ask yourself which ratio would be most helpful given the information that I have. Well, my adjacent side has a value and my hypotenuse side has a value, but the opposite side doesn't have any value at all. So I need the ratio that has to do with adjacent and hypotenuse.
Hi everyone, my name is...
The ratio that has to do with adjacent and hypotenuse is cosine. And you can still refer to your notes if you don't have these memorized. Also remember, all of these ratios are on your formula sheet, so it's not something you have to memorize. It's just a lot quicker if you do. Having these notes out might be helpful as well. These are from skill 2. So, adjacent hypotenuse. What I know is that the cosine of angle theta is equal to 12 over 13. There's only one step to get theta by itself, and it's to do the inverse cosine of both sides. So I'm going to do uncosining on either side. So I need to find the inverse cosine of 12 over 13. I will use my calculator. Please remember, anytime you're using your calculator, you need to make sure that you're in the correct mode. And the correct mode is degrees. So hit mode, make sure degree is highlighted, not radian, otherwise you will get the totally wrong answer. So inverse cosine, 12 over 13. So second cosine gets me my inverse cosine, 12 13ths. So it says round to the nearest tenth, so 22.6 degrees. I do want to clarify, eventually you will be considering things in terms of radians. It's a different way of measuring a circle. For now, we're thinking about circles as 360 degrees. And what does a triangle have to do with the circle? You'll figure that out eventually too. But it's not that radians are wrong, it's just wrong for the way that we're thinking about triangles right now. Let's try number 9. This is finding the measure of a side. I think you know the drill by now. You should start by labeling your sides. Our given angle is 37 degrees. It's not 90 degrees because I don't have to worry about that one. It's never the right angle. Our given angle is a different angle, so it's 37. Here I have my opposite, here I have my hypotenuse, and here I have my adjacent side. The hypotenuse and the adjacent side make up my angle, and the opposite is across from it. So I don't have anything labeled on my opposite side, so it's probably not what I need to think about. Interestingly enough, adjacent is labeled and hypotenuse is the one that I want to know. So in this case, we are again using cosine. That's just a coincidence. So the cosine of 37 equals adjacent over hypotenuse, 11 over x. Sometimes when you set this up, x is in the numerator and sometimes x is in the denominator. If x was in the numerator, you would just multiply by whatever was on the bottom on both sides. In this case, we need to multiply by x to get rid of it, because I don't want my x stuck in this denominator prison. X times the cosine of 37 equals 11. To get x by itself, I'm gonna undo this operation here, multiplying by dividing. So divide by the cosine of 37, divide by the cosine of 37, and I figure out that x equals, and I need to type 11 divided by the cosine of 37 into my calculator. 11 divided by cosine of 37. So I found out that it's about 13.8 because we're going to round up to the nearest tenth, and 7 rounds up. There are no units here, so I can just leave it as 13.8. It would be better if they were more specific, like inches or something. On the back here, number 17 begins where we need to find all of the missing parts of each triangle. So that means I should have all sides and all angles labeled. The easiest place to start is by finding the value of the third angle. Since I'm given 90 degrees here and 62 degrees here, I can use the Triangle Sum Theorem, which states that all three angles add up to 180 degrees to find the value of the third. So far I have 90 and 62. 90 plus 62, which is 152. So if I take that away from 180, my missing angle is 28. All right. So I need to find both the value of this side and this side. And you really have a lot of freedom in how you set up your ratios here. You could use this as your given angle or this as your given angle. So I'm just gonna start with 62. Gotta start somewhere. And in relation to 62, this is my opposite side. This is my hypotenuse. And this is my adjacent. So I'm gonna start by trying to find the adjacent side. I could start with the hypotenuse, it really doesn't matter. So if I wanna find the adjacent side, I know my opposite. I don't know the hypotenuse, so setting up a ratio with these two sides won't help me because neither of them have a value. I need something with my opposite. So opposite over adjacent, that works. And that is your tangent ratio. So the tangent of 62 equals 22.6 over x. So x is stuck in the denominator. I'm going to multiply by x on both sides. So x times the tangent of 62 equals 22.6. To undo multiplication, I will divide by the tangent of 62 on both sides. So 22.6 divided by the tangent of 62. That will go right into my calculator. So 12. Honestly, the nearest tenth is 0, and that doesn't round up at all, so I'm just going to go with 12 exactly. So this side is 12. I'm almost done. I have 3 angles and 2 out of 3 sides. Now, to find my hypotenuse, I can set it up really however I want. I can have adjacent over hypotenuse or opposite over hypotenuse. Since I already kind of have this set up, I'm going to just go with opposite over hypotenuse. Why not? Opposite over hypotenuse is sine, SOH. So the sine of 62 equals 22.6 over, I can call that value y. They really did not give you enough room to figure this out. Sorry. So if I multiply by y on both sides, I get y times the sine of 62 equals 22.6. And I divide by the sine of 62. And I get y equals 22.6 divided by the sine of 62. So 22.6 divided by the sine of 62, 25.6. So I now know all three sides of my triangle and all three angles. I have what they call solved the triangle.